specifics.
I honestly, with the other things that we're trying to accomplish, I think this is fine. You can even just in another bullet just saying, since that time, you know, we had the presentation at the city council, we walked through the MOU, we've kind of, you know, sunset that particular task and moved on to partnership with the police department, and then now are focused on next steps. I really think this is enough. Helen, would you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't, and I think that they're going to be looking to like get to the meat of the point. So we don't want to spend too much, I think, on a history. So even if you just took this slide, I think that would be good.
Yeah, I feel like that's great.
And then I think in that slide, you really can, between the two of you, you can cover 1 and 2 together. So maybe we can say that even through the pandemic, we've continued to meet. I do, and the reason why I have number 3 too, and we'll just kind of run into that. And I don't remember which one it was, Becky, and you may know, but one of the city council members, the one that represents the Hawthorne area, do you know the district number and name?
That'd be District 2. The current council member is Councilmember Bryce Stewart.
And he was newly elected, right? This last election.
So real quick, so we do have 3 new council members. I know earlier you said 2, but just for your guys' own, excuse me, knowledge. So our 2nd district is Councilmember Bryce Stewart. So he's new. He wasn't there whenever you guys presented back in February. Our 3rd district council member is also new. That's Councilmember Mike Steinmeier. And our 4th district council member is also new. That's Councilmember Daniel Hobart.
2, 3, and 4. Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So that might be something to note when we are presenting. So for District 2, that council member reached out to Zach Walker a couple of days ago, or maybe it was this week or last week, and Zach called me and really wants to make sure that there is a appearance of good support for IPD. One of his first courses of action, his request was to draft and present a resolution during the next city council meeting that essentially stated its support for IPD. And so I really appreciate Zach. He reached out to me initially and he said, knowing the progress and work that you guys have ahead, just what are your thoughts about this? And he walked me through it and walked through the sample, and it looked like maybe it was a boilerplate from another community that may not have been necessarily in line with kind of the partnership and collaboration that we are doing. And so I want to give him a kudos because he was thoughtful enough to say, while the IPD support is very important, we are just, I think, a little bit more ahead and farther down the road than maybe some of our other sister cities and communities. And we want to make sure that sending that kind of resolution to the floor and that kind of message in light of the diversity and inclusion work we're trying to do could really thwart and almost set back the progress. And he was totally open. He was more asking questions, presenting the resolution to the city manager for consideration. And so Zach gave the feedback, say, let me run this through diversity and inclusion. Let me let you kind of get up to date on what they're doing. So I think just to note for your own background, when we're talking about the history at the work session, know that I think the newly elected members maybe come with some interest and desire, perhaps in diversity and inclusion work than we've historically had before this point. So just know that for background. So that's why I put number 3 in there too, so that if you, Helen, or you two together, as we quickly bullet what we've done up to this point, we do zero in just for a minute to say IPD has been at the table. We can maybe talk about the 8 Can't Wait, not going in a lot of detail, but maybe comparing us to other communities that this is a round table of discussion and they are a critical arm and our partner in walking through. I just want to be careful of us getting into too many politics, if you will, if that makes sense. I'll stop talking. Thoughts about that?
No, yeah, you're fine. I agree 100%. I mean, IPD has been a part of the whole process. I mean, Major Turner, he wasn't, I don't believe, Major Turner at the time, but even at my time at the Human Relations Commission, he was a member of that too. So whenever I've been involved with the city, or in a city organization, IPD has definitely had a presence, and it's obvious that they care about the community and trying to do better, be better, kind of a thing.
Now, Helen, I want to put you on the
Yeah,
spot.
I agree.
Okay, go ahead. I want to make sure we all have voice and input. The only other thing that I think might be good, and help me understand your guys' feedback. We have a captive audience, and I mean, it's an open session, but in a work session. So you kind of get that informality, and we have an opportunity to kind of be very transparent if we have some concerns. So we talked a little bit about accountability at our last meeting, and Major Turner individually has been really responsive and good about getting the information and bringing it back. Do you think there's a talking point or something that we just need to underscore in front of the council to say, for diversity inclusion work to work, partnership is good, but policy change, transparency, visibility, all of those things are things we still have areas to grow in independence. I just wonder if we should take advantage of the audience that we have.
I think that would be a good chance to do that talking about policy change, transparency, accountability, visibility, partnerships. Because I know early on we talked about in that larger group to updating like the understandings. I know Community of Concerned Citizens talked about the pamphlet they put out, like how people should handle themselves during arrest. And there was an agreement that the document that's currently out is kind of dated, and getting an updated pamphlet would be very helpful. And just updating a lot of what kind of some of the understandings have been from the get-go may not apply to today's world. So definitely is now the time to be fostering more transparency and accountability. And that conversation has started, but I think it does have a ways to go. We also have talked about the recruitment. And I've pointed that out, that it is still not where it needs to be. When we talk about diversity in hiring, and the recruitment materials do not reflect diversity, then we're not going to reflect that that's what our city embraces, is diversity in hiring. And so I think that doesn't speak well to inclusivity or belonging in a community. The materials that you're putting out there. So yes, we definitely have some work to do, and we have to take advantage of the audience at the time to be able to get that point across.
That's beautiful. I should have had my recorder going. That was your talking point.
Helen, you're just going to say that same thing.
I remember all of that. But and again, because I think it's a false picture to paint rainbows and roads. Like, we have a lot of work to do. And so I don't want folks to think because we have assembled this group, we've kind of arrived. I think you've got some bullets there, Helen, where we asked some very specific things to do. There's progress being made, but there are things that are still not completed yet and still need attention. So that's it. So I think what we can do is really just merge 1 and 2. It sounds like in one slide. Helen, I really think you're a strong voice for that, that IPD, that accountability piece. We've got good collaborative partnership. And then you both have more historic knowledge, I think, just being in the city longer, and can both chime in with IPD's involvement, but even just from your recollection of the Human Relations Commission, so that the folks on the call just have some good historic understanding if they've not been followed.
And maybe proposing it as talking about that, what still needs to be done, and not like focusing on like all the sunshine and rainbows with IPD, but just saying, okay, this needs to be done. This is where we need to go. And through this process of figuring that out, IPD has been at the table with us.
That's great.
So it's saying, yes, there's need. IPD is involved in it. And so it's not just trying to appease the councilmen and say, hey, look, IPD is really great and they're on board and da-da-da-da-da, but still having our job still be the main focus of the work we're doing be the main focus, and saying IPD is on board with us, kind of a thing.
I like that. And I think those nuggets, those specific examples you mentioned about that diversity inclusion piece about what's not represented in applications or hiring process or recruitment. Like those are some tangibles that, you know, the data speaks for itself. And so it's one thing to say we're partnering together, like you said, that it's another to have some boxes that are still not checked yet. So
Groovy. I like that.
we'll put those two together. And then Helen, you can tackle number 3. And then when what I'll do is I'm gonna, on the slide, and what I'm gonna work on this weekend. And what I would say is the slide that you'll have, that again, will probably just be exactly what's there.
Yeah.
Helen, for yours, it might be just a placeholder slide that almost just transitions and allows, so there's a visual there, but allows you to speak to it, unless there's something specific you want on the screen. And then what I'm going to do is probably have no more than 4 bullets on the 3rd slide that summarizes that Word document we put together. That's just way too much detail for them, but just what our initial proposal is, why we need a facilitator, the quick bulleted items of what we would be expecting or hoping to get in a facilitator, and then the call for council support, like funding, long-term longevity of this process, the inability to move forward if we don't do the RFQ process. And that I think should really be covered by us all in discussion. So I'm just going to intro it, and then we'll just kind of play it by ear to kind of talk through the RFQ process.
Okay.
Thoughts about that? Golden?
I think that sounds good.
Becky, do we know how much time is allotted just for our little section?
I do too.
We don't typically, we don't put your feet to the fire for a time limit. I would say take as much time as you're comfortable with, but I would also say, being a person who sits and watches the presentation, you probably get your most attention within that first 30 minutes. And then after that first 30 minutes, you might start losing people. So I would just be mindful of how much time, but if you feel like you need to take an hour, but I would just make sure that you're mindful that you hit your big points in the beginning. That way you can have everybody's attention, because I will also state you're the 3rd presentation of the evening. So yeah.
But I honestly, I don't think from just this, but I don't see it going over 15 minutes.
Right. Because they may not get questions or feedback. They're statements, but we're talking 3 slides or less.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if you guys are in that 15 to 30 minutes, like I think you're in a very good position time wise. But don't feel like we're going to limit you if it goes over. Like we're not gonna like pull the curtain down or anything like that. You have as much time as you need to get your point across.
I know, but again, like you said, that people tune out after a certain amount of time, and that's what we don't want them to do.
No.
On Monday evening.
Yeah.
What are the other 2 topics on the agenda for Monday?
So the first topic is so we have a new managing firm for IPL. So they're going over some recommendations that they're making for Power and Light. And then the second topic is I believe it's like a sewer line warranty program. So it's through like NLC. So yeah, you're following those first 2 presentations.
Oh my gosh, ours is going to be so exciting.
I would anticipate each of those potentially lasting about an hour a piece, give or take. So
I forgot to
yeah.
breakfast.
Okay.
Oh man. So we are actually probably going to be refreshing into the
Be memorable.
I think so. I think you guys are in a good position because not that the first 2 presentations aren't interesting, but I think you guys have probably a little bit of extra pizzazz on the content that you'll be presenting on.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think for just us, and again, thanks for calling out those 3 new members, Becky. I don't know that we will address we shouldn't probably have a need to address individual council members by name or location. If they have questions, obviously Becky said, be prepared. They might ask us things on the cuff. I think we just kind of play that by ear. It's a Zoom, so, you do the best you can. But yeah.
Sorry, Meredith. And real quick, so these are hybrid meetings right now. So is it your guys' intent to come in virtually, or are you guys wanting to come in person?
I plan to be virtual. I'm not making contact with any human beings unless I absolutely have to.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah. I I love my people, but I love the health of the general public and my higher risk population. So.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a Zoom, so I didn't know it was an option. So I'm excited that it's a Zoom.
Are they going to be meeting in person?
Yeah. Yeah, the council, we've been meeting in person since June 15th. So yeah, the full council, and then we have limited capacity seating in the audience, but we are doing hybrid meetings. So if we do have presenters that like to present virtually, they have that option to present virtually.
Well, before I speak for the subcommittee, are you all wanting to present in public? I will certainly make an adjustment and do what you all feel comfortable with. If you think that discussion should be
I'm always down for being on this era of safety during this pandemic. I'm always on the side of safety.
Okay.
Same here. I've been in 2 quarantines, not by any fault of my own. I would prefer to do Zoom.
I just think it sets a good public example as well.
Me too. I agree.
Mindful of public health and the challenge they have to, communicate the seriousness of what we're dealing with. So, okay. All right. So you don't need an actual agenda or anything from us, Becky. I think we've got the points. Literally, they're going to probably be 3 points plus any questions and feedback that they have. I will put together the 3 little simple slides. I'll share it with you all over the weekend. If there's any changes or anything that need to be made, just let me know. But essentially, we come with our own bullets prepared to speak to, no more than about 5 minutes each, and we should be good. Does that sound good?
All right.
Great.
I think so. And so basically, just the logistics of the Zoom meeting. So you'll send me, I'll get the slide. Will we be able to screen share with the city council, or are we going to send them our slides ahead of time and then they'll look as we talk?
So it'll actually be both. So once your guys' PowerPoint is done, if you can just include me on that email, Meredith, and obviously I'll watch for you guys all to give the thumbs up that that's your final product. I'll attach that to our agenda. So they'll have that on their tablets or whatever devices they're using to view the agenda that evening. But then also it'll be the same setup that we're doing exactly right now. You'll get a presenter privilege, and I don't know if you guys want Meredith just to be the presenter and kind of go through the slides as you're speaking, or if each of you want to. It might get a little messy though if we're switching from each of you, if you're each talking on bullet points on the same slide, so that might be a little difficult. So I mean, if you guys want to work it out amongst yourselves, if Meredith wants to be the primary presenter, I can give her presenter privileges, and then she can kind of go through the deck as you guys are speaking on your presentation, but it'll be displayed like it is now.
Are you okay with that, Meredith?
Oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I think that probably sounds the best. And then that way one person can obviously keep the flow as well, help us stay on track.
Yes, I agree.
Sounds good.
All right. I think that sounds awesome.
One final question, sorry. Will anybody do an intro? Will the mayor just kind of cue it up and Thad will start? We don't need to do a kind of set the stage. He can just jump right in. Will somebody introduce that 3rd item?
Yeah, usually Zach does the intros for any of the presentations we have. I'll work with him on Monday to see how he's going to do that. Usually he has just kind of a little bit of a snippet of the group that's presenting. And then if you guys want to do additional introductions, you're more than welcome to do that. He might introduce you guys by name. I don't know, but I'll double check with him and see how he wants to do those introductions. And if you guys feel more information needs to be provided, then you can kind of jump in and provide that information if you'd like to do that.
Okay, sounds good. All right,
awesome.
And so if you guys have access to Google Slides and that's comfortable, I'll just build it in there. And that way, if you want to add any notes to your own little piece or change your bullets, you can do it that way. And then Becky, I'll let you know when it's final from all of us. So
sounds perfect.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you all for your time. Becky, appreciate you hosting and facilitating the
Absolutely.
meeting.
Thank you, Meredith. Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Helen.
You guys get some rest this weekend.
Yes, thank you very much.
You do the same.
All right.
You guys on
Bye.
Monday.
Thank you all.
All right. Oh, wait.
You too.
What time are we supposed to be on?
Oh,
See you Monday.
like I said, you guys are the third group, so it's anybody's guess. So I would just say make sure probably between 6 and 6:30 you jump on just in case their presentations run super short. I wouldn't think that they're going to run short. I'm thinking that they'll probably run on the long end. So, I mean, you're more than welcome to jump on the go-to meeting and just kind of keep it up and just kind of keep an eye on it if you want to do that. Otherwise, I would say jump on as soon as you can just to be on the safe side. But like I said, I anticipate each of those first 2 presentations probably being about an hour apiece.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right.
And that you'll send us the link for that meeting.
Yeah,
Obviously.
I'll go ahead and send you guys the meeting maker now after we get off this call. And then, yep, meeting starts
Perfect.
at 6. And like I said, sometime between 6 and the end of the meeting, you guys are on.
It's playing in the background.
All right, perfect. Thank you all so
Thank you,
much.
Have a good night, guys.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you Monday.
See
Bye-bye.
ya.